On today's episode, I will be talking to Sue Adorjan, photographer from Melbourne in Australia, about her fascination with lines, light and shapes and the way she applies it to her photography in a plethora of different genres. Enjoy. Sue, welcome. Nice to have you here. You are in Melbourne, Australia, so I guess it's evening for you, right? Or late afternoon?
8 o'clock.
You sent some images my way, and I will be sharing them with our viewers here on the screen during our conversation. So, let me start with let's get straight to our chat, right? I can see you are really enjoying quite a plethora of different genres, styles. So basically, really enjoying your photography. Was it something that developed over time, or did you start with one particular genre and then kept adding, or is it, or have you always been, into all of those directions?
I've always been interested in photography. In my early days, it was always traveling. So when I'm traveling, as usual, you take your camera with you. In the last 10 years, I've left work, so I'm retired now. So it gives me an opportunity to take up my camera and to explore any extreme I like. So I can, whether it's still life, landscape, I've ventured a little bit into portraits, because that's my unknown, or out of my comfort zone. So as I'm getting more comfortable with my camera and more willing to explore, then I'm willing to get out of my comfort zone and do other things, which is things like photography with COVID and still life. So before that, it was always landscape. I think the big thing that probably turned the table a little bit was in about 2015, I went to Namibia on a photo trip, and that's a beautiful place, and that opened my eyes up into a whole lot of things. And I think there, with Ben McClay, who was running the tour, he sort of sat down with me with Photoshop, because I had no idea what to do with Photoshop. And he sort of gave me some ideas about cameras, the composition side of it. I explored with the Himba tribe there, taking photos. So that was sort of my major thing. And then I moved to Melbourne. So I'm like an hour away from the mountains or the beach or whatever, or even the city of Melbourne. So I've got plenty of areas to explore. The other major one was around about 2015. I think I've sent you the photo of the lifesavers getting into the water. That I entered that in a competition with Canon, and it was the theme was No Place Like Home for memory. And I was down at my mum and dad's place and took the photo, and I won an award, which is, as a result, I've got my 24-70 lens. So that was a turning point. And one of the guys there, Mike Langford from New Zealand, actually said, he was a judge, and he actually said, "You're up there, Sue. You just got to get up there." So it's about confidence, believing in yourself, and wanting to explore at the end of the day.
Mm. So would you call yourself kind of, like a reaction photographer? I mean, it's basically about what happens, right? To be in front of your lens, in front of your eyes. What would you say are the elements, like when you would look at all of those images, all of your photographs and directions? Could you pinpoint like two or three common elements?
Most common one I feel I follow is the light. So I can go on a trip to Sydney, which is like a 10-hour drive. I actually have to allow another couple of hours, because if I'm driving along the countryside and you see, especially in the late afternoon, how the light is, I want to stop and take a photo, so it takes me forever to get home or get to my parents' place or whatever. So the light, and I'm interested at the moment in black and white, so the tones. So they're the two, the light, the tone, are the two main things I'm interested in when I take a photo.
When I was going through your images, I can see, I noticed it's a lot of also kind of geometrical fascination, lines, shapes. I could see it in your portraits. I could see it in your landscapes and in your architectural shots. So I guess, and I can see a few behind you as well on your wall. You definitely
They're not behind that.
But okay, but they are on your wall, which means you're kind of drawn to this kind of element,
Well,
right?
and I think as you get in, I got more confidence in taking photos. I've leaned towards the black and white and also architecture. So hence the one up here. They're the wall towers. So I'm interested in taking the architecture in Sydney. Especially when I go there, I always go into the city because it's changing itself since I grew up there. But I think, the black and white for the tone and the architecture because it's the concrete and the steel, they still have the same form with what, nature landscape has. So it's just in a different part of it.
I'm looking at your photograph of a close-up of it's a beautiful flower you sent in.
Okay, that looks like
right?
a lily flower.
Like a lily flower, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I was wondering, like, if you approach this kind of scene, this kind of image, and then compared to when you are photographing, a big building, architectural shot, would you say you are in a way, working or thinking or seeing in a similar way? Are there similar, mechanisms somewhere, visual, mechanism in place?
I think I'm actually just there. I went back to the flower you're talking to. I did a couple of weeks ago. I went back to the lily farm and I'm just editing that now. I think it's the same sort of way, trying to get the abstract. So I look at the composition and try and get it there, and then I try and draw into what's there that can get your eye into to make it interesting. So I do definitely the same for the architecture, where you get the leading lines. If you've got the concrete or steel or whatever it is, you try and get the abstract form from that. And you can maybe how you can crop. Many times what I see my original images and what I end up with, most of the time it's cropped and the background's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And absolutely, if not my favorite of the photos you sent me, is the one of it's like a group of trees in the mist, a black and white image. This is, okay, I have some kind of, weakness for black and white, so probably that's why I'm reacting even stronger. But this is absolutely brilliant. You have those layers, so you have different shades of gray, of black, and can you tell us a little bit more about this image?
There was a fluke, that one. I went out with one of my girlfriends. She lived up in the mountains, and her name is also Sue Wickham. She's on phone, and she said, "Let's go and look for mist." So we went for a drive. I think we went for a drive for about half an hour. We went past the place where we got the mist, and then we came back and it was there. She jumped out the car and she took it. So it's just a matter of saying. That was shot in black and white, I think. I changed my camera to black and white to get the tone. And it did clearly try to bring the depth of the gum tree. And I think that's the one, this is the one I'm thinking about, with the mist. Because we just had bushfires. So the black on the trunks is, accentuated more. So it's just a matter of trying to capture that mist and bring out the trucks. To bring out the textures and the feeling that you have with the mix, So you'll be able to do that again in about a couple of months' time. So
this image is absolutely brilliant. I think you should replace the images you have behind you with a bigger version of this one on your wall,
But it's funny, I've got images all over my place. I've only got one of mine. Oh, two. The one with the lifesaver and a Himba one that's in the other lounge room. And I tend to have other paintings and etchings as opposed to mine, yeah. But I should.
Yeah. And also in the notes you sent over, you wrote me that during the pandemic, you kind of started exploring the still life, right? I have one image, I will throw it here with the pears and...
the pears?
The pears and what's the other fruit?
Yep.
Yeah, tell us a bit more about this kind of photography. What fascinates you here? What did you discover in those first months of doing it?
Well, I think I've got a couple of other girlfriends that do workshops, and one of them with still life. I've never done still life in my life. So with COVID coming up, during the COVID period, Melbourne was in lockdown for about 6 months. We couldn't move within 5 kilometres and all that sort of thing. So one of my other friends had some online stuff. So I picked that up, and that's how I picked up on still life. So whether you did flowers, still life of anything. I have a thing on peas. I just love peas. And
you love the taste or you love the shapes?
I like the shapes and the talent. So it depends on. I even use them for cooking. Not those ones, but even if I do cooking, I also do food photography, which I haven't sent anything on that yet. But if I do peas, you poach them, and then you put them up on. Then you just take photos of them. And it's just interesting when you get the texture of the pears, whether they're real pears or not. It doesn't matter, but it's just a matter of how, if it's in still life, of how finding the light that comes in through the window. And I don't use flash or anything. I use natural light. So, I've got to try and do mid-morning or mid-afternoon for the light to come through where the room is. And that generally gives me the depths and the shapes and the tone that I need of light out of the photos.
Yeah, so when creating an image like this, what would you say is the most difficult element? Because we have the lighting, we have the positioning of the objects, we have the background. Yeah. I can imagine you spent quite some time when creating.
I probably spend no more than 15 minutes. But once I've worked out what I want for the background, whether it's black, perfect, or I've got a big canvas. Once I worked out my background, and then prop around with what kind of plates and all that sort of thing. And once I've worked out that, then I drag the still life, the objects in, and then take it there. So the biggest time it might take along there is setting up my tripod. Do I do a flat lay? Do I take it on an angle? Yeah. So I experiment with that. So yeah. Pretty good.
Wonderful. Sue, it seems like you are really, enjoying it, learning all the time, experimenting with different stuff. What are the ways you present your photography to the world these days? Like, locally or maybe internationally, online?
I always think my photos are not good enough, but that's just that female thing, I think. At the moment, I post on Instagram every day in my food photography account and my normal non-food one. I've got 2 profiles in Facebook, and I do have a website that does have to be updated. I'll probably do that next week. I've been saying that for the last month, but I do have to have a look at it, have a change. That's about it really. I don't really do anything else besides that. So yes, I suppose I should promote myself or advertise or whatever. But at the moment, I'm happy with Facebook and Instagram, and I just got to kind of work out what else. And I post on phone. So I had a bit of slack work, but I decided this year to start putting one photo in at least once a week, and so people start getting to know who I am again.
Yeah. I would definitely encourage you to try, printing a couple of your images, and printing them a bit bigger. And, having a few more of them somewhere, on your walls. And this, brings much satisfaction. I mean, you have printed before, so you must know about it. Yeah.
Or maybe in the Play magazine, maybe?
Well, that's something we will talk about it anyway, I guess. The day will come. Yeah. Sue, thank you so much.
Whenever you're ready. I love the magazines. I like the Like issue. Number 10, that was fantastic. I really liked that one.
So much. Yeah.
The ballet, and then I got to the end, and it was the slaughter of the pigs, and I went, oh my God, yeah. So it was all good.
Great. Sue, thank you so much. If we are lucky, this will be online later today, because you will be probably already asleep. Yeah, but I will be working on it. So thank you so much. Enjoy it. See you around. in the frames universe, right?
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.